Mr. Pocket, a multiversal being with godlike powers, needed heroes and villains for his quest to save the multiverse. But first, these champions would need to go on their own journey. Aiding this, he combined the two universes into one. We know these as the Marvel and DC universes. This event would be known as Union Day, and here we have stories of heroes and villains living their lives after Union Day. Before Union Day and the new history made by the fusion of the two universes, we have heroes and villains known to all, and some we've never seen before. Now let us dive into Tiger Tales Marvel and DC Unionverse.
Ruthie's normal life with Jeff the Land Shark. Chapter 1. The Last Normal Day. Ruthie was a 16-year-old girl. She went to school. She was a cheerleader. She was in the school's band. She loved playing the flute. Her older brothers, all grown up and moved out, living their best lives. Her older sister abroad at some fancy university or other. Her other sister wasn't around. Her mother was a big shot doctor and her father was a field medic for S.H.I.E.L.D. Her house was a red brick house, the windows were large and the door was a dark shade of red. They lived in Hell's Kitchen in New York. A dark place if you were in a certain place at a certain time. Lucky for Ruthie, her entire time schedule was so tight she would never end up in those places at those times. She had good friends, good grades, and a pretty normal life. Except for her pet. Her pet was known as Jeff the Land Shark, and that's exactly what he was, a shark who had adorable little feet. He was very well behaved and extremely adorable. Jeff the Land Shark was always well behaved and never made a mess or broke anything. He could dig incredibly fast. Never liked his back fin underground though, so when he did burrow underground, all you could see was his small fin shimmering on top of the ground surface. He could project water from his mouth, a stream of water. It was incredibly powerful and he often used it as a jet blast to wake up Ruthie whenever she'd sleep in. He could use his ability quite well to water the garden. He could also belch bubbles, which Ruthie often would like to pop whenever they would play. Ruthie laid there awake, her alarm clock started ringing, she rolled over, reached out and turned it off. She climbed out of bed and got dressed. She looked over to see Jeff's bed empty. She raised an eyebrow in confusion and shrugged to herself. She then brushed her teeth and made her way downstairs as she tied up her hair and found Jeff sat on his stool with her father cooking breakfast. "Morning," Ruthie chirped. "Hey Ruth, want some eggs?" her dad asked. "Yeah, sure," Ruthie nodded as she sat next to Jeff. "Why are you awake so early?" she asked Jeff. Jeff grunted, growled, and snapped his jaw. "Yeah, well, next time, wake me up," Ruthie giggled to herself. She understood Jeff. It's not like she heard English words coming out of his mouth. She honestly didn't understand how it worked whatsoever, but she knew what he was saying. She understood him. Jeff gave her a sad look and whined. "Oh, shut up," Ruthie chuckled. Jeff's demeanour quickly changed when Ruthie's father walked over and placed eggs on their plates. "Eat up, you two, come on," her dad said with a smile. "Thanks," Ruthie said as she started tucking into her breakfast. Jeff, with one fell swoop of his tongue, gobbled up the eggs whole. He then made a cheerful grunt. "He says thanks and asks if there's any more," Ruthie said with a mouthful. "Sadly not, I have to go," her dad replied. He walked over to her, kissed on the cheek, and stroked Jeff's on his head. "See you later, Dad," Ruthie replied. "See you guys later," her dad said. Then he held out his hand to Jeff, who smacked it with his paw. Her dad chuckled, and then he bounded out the door. "Come on, quick, walk before school, yeah?" Ruthie told Jeff. Jeff chirped with glee and hopped off the stool as Ruthie cleared the table and followed Jeff to the front door. She placed on her trainers and jacket and left the house with Jeff happily bouncing beside her. They walked down the street and turned into the high street. They walked for about 10 minutes and ended up in the park. Ruthie looked around and saw no one in sight, and the time of morning was perfect sweet spot where they could play and there were no one around, no dog walkers, as they had just got home and the school kids hadn't left for school just yet. She gave Jeff the all clear and he burrowed underground. She stood there for a moment and watched Jeff's fin as he soared through the dirt. She looked around, making sure no one was watching. She honestly didn't care if people saw her with the land shark, or the fact that Jeff was the land shark overall, but not everyone was happy with the idea of the land shark being there, especially a land shark who used to fight with the Avengers and the other heroes before Union Day. She was given Jeff by S.H.I.E.L.D. over 8 months ago. After Union Day, everybody seemed to be all up in the air, and she knew some people were not happy about it. Over the course of the last 8 months, there was a few death threats from random individuals, people who would rather see Jeff on an autopsy table in some petting zoo, cage for everyone to laugh at or make fun of. Ruth had really grown attached to Jeff, and she knew Jeff loved her all the same. Jeff popped out the ground and shook off all the dirt off of himself, then he bounded up to her and nuzzled her leg. She crouched down and stroked his snout. He made some noise between gargling and chirping. "You can smell them, huh? Okay, let's head home." "Which way are they coming from?" she asked. Jeff walked away, leading Ruthie down one of the many pathways. She followed the land shark through the forestry and eventually ended up in the back of their street. "Oh, I never noticed that way before. That's kinda cool. Come on, I better get to school," Ruthie told Jeff. He nodded understanding and they both went back indoors. She got herself ready and said goodbye to Jeff. "Okay, I'll see you in 6 hours, okay? When the clock chimes 3, then you wait for 20 minutes and I'll be back, as cheerleading practice got cancelled today," Ruthie told Jeff. Jeff waddled over to the clock and looked at it. He clocked his head as he counted the numbers. Then he walked over to Ruthie and nodded his head in understanding. "Smart shark, good boy," Ruthie said as she stroked him again. She then stood up and got her bag and walked out the door, and Jeff made a noise. "Yeah, love you too," Ruthie called out as she left the house and locked the door behind her. Jeff waddled over into the living room and pressed the TV remote with his snout, which turned the TV on, and Jeff jumped onto the couch and watched the program that was on display. Ruthie walked into her first class, which was mathematics. She sat down next to Sarah and Sam, two of her friends. They were the only spoken for and outed lesbians in our school, and they made sure every single person knew about it. And they also made sure not to mess with them on a flirtatious level. Ruthie sat down next to Sam, who was nudging her in the arm with her elbow. "Hey, you know why cheerleading practice is cancelled?" Sam asked. "No idea. Guessing you got the same blunt and basic text as well," Ruthie asked back. "Yeah, and might I add, no kisses at the end, which means she was pissed," Sarah stated. Ruthie thought about it, and Sarah did have a point. The text message she got the night before stated the practice after school had indeed been cancelled, and they had no kisses at the end, which was out of character. Ruthie's train of thought was broken when Lee walked in. Lee was a good-for-nothing jock wannabe who was on the basketball team, second-in-command type person. He always tried to flirt with Ruthie. 4 months ago, Ruthie had been flattered, but Sam flirted with the captain of the basketball team and found out that it was a test for Lee, which involved getting Ruth on a date, allowing the rest of the basketball team to pull a prank on her. Lee walked over to Ruthie and leant on her desk. Ruthie, why don't you return my love?" Lee said poetically. "Oi, jackass, leave my girl alone or I'll slap you so hard you'll be gargling your own teeth," Sarah barked. Ruthie glared at Lee as he backed off and walked away, finding his own seat at the back of the class. "Thanks," Ruthie whispered. "Always got you, babe." Sarah grinned. "God lord, you are so sexy right now, you know that, don't you?" Sam sighed with a heavy breath. Sam leaned in and kissed Sarah. Ruthie smiled at the loving couple when the teacher walked in and started the lesson. Lunchtime came quickly and the three girls all got something to eat. They decided, as the sky was blue and the sun was beating down on Hell's Kitchen, they decided to sit outside on one of the benches. They all ate and gossiped like 16-year-old girls would do. "Hey, so how's Mum and Dad?" Sam asked. Sam and Ruthie had been friends for many years. Sam had so-called adopted her family, even called Ruthie's brothers her brothers. She'd often sleep over and she loved Jeff. "They're good, busy and all," Ruthie sighed. "And how's my boy?" Sam said with a slight grin. "Yeah, he's fine," Ruthie shaking her head. Sometimes it seemed Sam loved Jeff more than Sarah. "Wanna do movie night tonight, as practice has been cancelled?" Sarah asked. "Yeah, I'll text Dad, let him know Mum more than likely won't be back until gone midnight anyway, so," Ruthie muttered. She pulled out her phone and texted her dad, letting him know that Sam and Sarah might be at the house when he got home. Within a couple of minutes, he responded, telling her that there was money in the cookie jar for pizza, and reminded her to walk Jeff. She texted back saying thanks and that of course she wouldn't forget. The day rolled on as per usual, and as the last bell rang, signaling the end of the school day, the three girls walked back to Ruthie's house. They stopped at the corner store to buy fizzy drinks and snacks. They walked up the road and stopped to stare at the abandoned building with graffiti painted all over it. It was a picture of Daredevil and Black Oni. Daredevil was one of the only heroes who survived Union Day. He disappeared for a few months, but returned with a new sidekick known as Black Oni. The picture showed them, both of them back to back. It was beautiful, filled with hope, but daunting and filled with pain all at the same time. "I don't care what my mother says, I'm glad we have someone watching us. Sure, they are pretty brutal, but they look after us little guys, you know?" Sarah muttered. Sarah's mother was a police officer and was gunning for the arrest of Daredevil and Black Oni quite often. The girls left the graffiti mural and headed for the house. They walked in and Jeff came up, bounding up to the trio. He said hello to Ruthie and Ruthie stroked his chin. And hello to you too, Ruthie chirped. Then he said hello to Sam and Sarah. Sam dropped to her knees and squeezed the land shark incredibly tightly. Jeff made a moan, groan and snapped his jaw. What did he say? Sam asked. He said he likes the smell of your perfume, Ruthie called out as she walked into the kitchen to find the money for pizza. Oh, why thank you, Jeff. It was an anniversary gift from Sarah, Sam told him. Jeff looked at Sarah and winked at her, giving her his approval. Ruthie called the pizza place and ordered extra for Jeff, and the girls all climbed onto the sofa, and Jeff curled up on the ground, and they all watched a movie, waiting for the pizza to arrive. Willie, Ruthie's father, suited up in his gear as he looked at the holoscreen, the mission placed right in front of him as he saw the details. Several armed thugs had taken 2 doctors hostages. Neurosurgeons to be exact. They needed them for something. They had dragged the 2 doctors to the rooftop, and they shot several nurses, doctors, and patients as they did. His wife Rita called him, letting him know that she was safe, and with the lack of heroes, S.H.I.E.L.D. took the call. Willie grabbed his gear, his medical equipment, as he prepared himself for the job. He was the only person really capable at the moment. He stopped before leaving his station. He grabbed his phone and hit the call button. Hey son. Hospital, 2 doctors, rooftop. They got guys with guns. Don't seem to be superpowered, so be careful, and I love you, he said. Then he hung up and went to the Quinjet.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the 3 Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by 3 cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Tai Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channels, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerbrostudios.com.